It's Dan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football, but of course, the NHL, NBA, go to betus.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the sports web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US, and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilled on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com.
Sign up at betus.com and get the best bonuses in the industry.
Merry Christmas. Say, I love football. Say this. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Tampa. Tampa. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Oh my God, she's so smart and she's so precious. I love her to death.
Hey everyone, I'm Reagan Weiss along with
Joey Deeb, co-founders
of The Hub.
I'd just like to start off by prefacing this by saying it's not just us. It's all of our core members of this group that made this. We have a lot of people that have worked hard, put their blood, sweat, and tears into this. Can't mention all of them because there's so many, but we love you all.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for every single one of you, and you know who you are, to be involved with this. And a lot of people are asking, why? Why The Hub? Let me tell you why The Hub. The Hub is a place that not just business owners are going to collaborate. It's where our community members are going to collaborate, where ideas are bounced off of one another. We just want to help people. We want to be there. We want to unify not just our businesses, but we want to unify our community. We don't want to hear about the negativity. We don't want to hear. There are so many other places out there that you could hear about the negativity in our community, and this will not be the place.
Our group can be a basis for so many different resources for so many different trades and industries. It's not just isolated to one specific trade or construction or cleaning or any of that. Everybody can come to the Hub to get actual references from real people using these business and utilizing them to see what kind of experiences they've had.
Now, the key word is collaboration, right? And you see that a lot lately, like collaboration. Well, it really is about collaboration. If I didn't know to collaborate with my friends behind the camera, Jordan Long, if I didn't know how to collaborate with all these other people, all these individuals involved, you wouldn't know about us because of those people. Strength are in numbers. So just like Joey said, it's every industry. We want to hear from how your experiences were with your restaurants. We want to hear your cleaning people, your contractors, your roofing companies. I mean, every industry out there, your masseuses, your salon. We want to hear real experiences from real people. And one more thing, very, very important, we're not going to allow networking. When we say networking, I just want to be very specific on this. And people say, oh, well, you're kind of pushing people away. No, we're not, because there are specific network groups that post and tag people without ever utilizing their business. And we don't want that. We want real experiences.
You're not forced to recommend somebody simply because you're in the same group.
Right.
And that's what we want. And it's not just about business either.
Right.
It's about charity and giving. We want a local hub for events to help people.
We appreciate you. We love you. We thank you. Look for Hub ads on the radio. Look for the Hub bus on the Pasco County Public Transportation System. Look in Facebook and please share this and let's grow this positive thinking, forward momentum community. We love you, Tampa Bay.
Join the Hub and grow with us.
See you soon.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition, your Wednesday night edition of the Sports Web Live on I Love St. Pete and the Hub. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. How do we start off this show? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, meteorologist, sports broadcaster on this show, talking about Super Bowl 56, recapping that. Plenty of Bucs rumors when it comes to the quarterback situation. And then once again at 10:15, we'll have Mark Mancini of XM Sirius Radio, former XPW announcer. So we'll be getting the national perspective. And of course, talking a little professional wrestling. And then, of course, taking your phone calls as always. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The tribal troll here, moderator, is exactly right. Hit the like button. Share it. I've only got 5,000 friends on Facebook. If all 5,000 of you shared this show, wow, it would be amazing. I'm just saying. Also, super chats are open if you want to donate money to the cause. Not that I'm begging you, but you know, if it's good content and you keep on coming back, what the heck, right? Also, want to go out to this, go to betus.com. If you're gambling on NHL, NBA, all kinds of sports, betus.com, TSW22, you get a 125% sign-up bonus. Again, TSW22, betus.com. And once again, tell them that the Sports Web sent you by putting in the TSW22. So there you go. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this guy on. Let's get his intro on. Here we go. All right, enough of that. It feels like I heard that all day long when I was on the phone with sales. We'll get back to that later. It's Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Welcome to the Evolution and your thoughts. We've got a new world champion. It's the LA Rams 23-20 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
Peter, what's that story? What you were hearing tornado sirens with sales? What's going on there?
I feel like I was. In fact, if there was a choice between doing sales today or having a tornado come through my house and hearing that siren, more than likely, I would have liked to hear that siren and have the tornado come to my house. This is the kind of day it was.
Dang, that's bad.
It was really rough. And I'm glad I get a chance to do this show because some of the things that I would like to say on the phone more than likely would get me fired. That's why I get an opportunity to say it on here instead. So I will definitely vent a little bit later. But how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. You know, the game, it was a good game. I mean, the first half was really good. Then the second half I thought was kind of boring until the end. And then all of a sudden, obviously, at the end, it turned into quite a game. You got to wonder if the Rams might have won a little easier if OBJ had not been injured early on in the game, the way things were shaping up for him. But, you know, and then a lot of folks, I think justifiably so, the refs swallowed their whistles for 59 minutes of the game. And then all of a sudden in the last minute started to make some calls that were questionable. I mean, I get it. There was also the offensive pass interference or offensive face mask that should have been called on the Bengals. But, you know, at the end of the day, it was a pretty entertaining game. Oh man. Oh, see, Jay, buy me one. All right, see. So I got to tell you something. So there's this site. No, wait a minute. I'm gonna see if I can get. No, I'll get it on Facebook. All right. So here's what's going on. There is a Facebook group. Now you guys know you know, Peter, that I'm a huge Christmas decorations guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's this place that they tell you when there's like 95% off deals on Christmas decorations and Christmas trees. It's a true story from Home Depot. And one of our guys works here, our director at night. He also is into this. He just found that there's $200 Christmas trees on sale for $15 right now. So while we're talking, I'm going to go ahead and buy some. I bought 3 about an hour ago, and I'm going to buy a few more right now if I can. I mean, how can you turn down a $15 Christmas tree? You can.
You can. And we're multitasking here on the Sports Web. We got Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Once again, buying Christmas trees. And, I felt like, I don't know, they were trying to tear down the Christmas tree. That was Joe Burrow. 7 sacks in the game. And, of course, to me, that was the key matchup. And obviously the Rams won that. I mean, the offensive line in general for the Bengals is absolutely atrocious. In fact, 70 sacks. You got to get this kid an offensive line or basically you're going to get him killed.
Same thing happened against the Titans. I mean, he had 9. They had 9 sacks against him in the Titans game, and he still won. So, and they almost won this game. I mean, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I mean, they were in it and had a legitimate chance to win. So you're right. I mean, imagine if they give the guy a little more time, how much better they can be. The game didn't really play out a lot of the way that I thought. I kind of thought that Cam Akers would have a really good game rushing against Cincinnati, and the Bengals defense really kind of showed up, don't you think?
Absolutely. The Bengals defense absolutely showed up. I think that was one of the most surprising things, although Zach Taylor mentioned today in his Wednesday news conference, Joe had a sprained MCL, and that's he had a re-aggravation of something he did back in December. He's a tough guy. He played through it. Rest is going to be the best thing for him. That's the part that's encouraging. So again, he's going to get some much needed rest here these next couple of weeks and expect him to come back fully healthy. But look, he won't come back fully healthy unless this organization invests either first round pick or in free agency. And that'll get to my next point. In either one of those processes, because if not, they're going to get him killed. And I feel like, Aaron Donald really woke up because the majority of the game he was quiet, and then he had that skirmish on the sideline, and he was kind of just a man possessed at that point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, boy, I was just sitting here looking at the odds on what some of the predictions are. A lot of the people like the Chargers next year as Super Bowl champions. And you know what? Another young quarterback. With those young quarterbacks are doing it, and then all of a sudden the Bucs are, we're kind of what direction they're going to go now that the whole Kyler Murray stuff has come out, and who knows at this point? I mean, we've heard everybody. We've heard Russell Wilson, which I think could happen. We've heard Kyler Murray. We've heard obviously Carson Wentz. There's been some talk about that. First and foremost, I guess, is Jimmy Garoppolo. So all of a sudden, everybody and all the rumors are bringing these guys to the Bucs. So who's to say? I don't know. I mean, repeating is difficult, and the Bengals, everything just fell into place for them, but they're still in the same division with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. So, I mean, everybody's like, oh, yeah, well, they didn't get this year. And we talked about this, that a lot of times if the year before they just fall short, the next year they turn it around. They go make it to the top of the mountain. But with Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes in that same conference, it's going to be some entertaining football with those three teams over the next several years, you got to figure.
Absolutely. Now, from a fantasy perspective, the way Cooper Kupp and his year went, in your opinion, is he a number one overall pick? Are you taking him in the first round? I mean, everybody takes running backs. Would it make you rethink that scenario with the Kupp?
No. And it's probably a mistake on my part. I think Jonathan Taylor is the number one selection in most drafts next year. I think the reason is, in terms of fantasy, there's just more wide receivers out there that can get you serviceable numbers. I mean, there's only a handful of superstars, Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp and, whoever else happens to pop up that year. But there's always these guys who are going to get you great numbers, including Detroit's wide receiver, who I picked up toward the end of the year, and he rode me to the championship, Right. But running backs, you just don't have that kind of depth. You just don't. So I think the reason people take running backs first round is because there's just not that many quality number one running backs, whereas there's a lot of wide receivers that are going to pull in numbers. They might not have the numbers of Cooper Kupp, but they can still be, especially in a PPR league where you get a point per every reception, where you can have some guys who have 7 to 9 receptions. And I think Waddle is going to have a big year next year as well for the Dolphins. So answer your question is, I mean, I'm sure there's got to be people who are going to draft Cooper Kupp 1. I would never do it in a million years.
All right, we're on with Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, sports broadcaster on this show, meteorologist on his. Of course, great job Tuesday and Thursday nights live on Facebook. Let's go back to Joe Mixon, 15 carries for 72 yards. But for some unknown reason, Samaje Perine was in on the 3rd and 1. And this is what Taylor had to say about that today, coach of the Bengals. Yeah, we were in the 2-minute mode, and Samaje has done a great job. His role has really been protecting back and a lot of the things that come with that off of that. It's just one of those situations when I called a play a little later on the clock, and so I was the one that said, leave him in there. Justin Hill, our running backs coach, asked if we wanted to make a change. I said, just leave Samaje in there. Obviously, it didn't work out for us. Whether Joe is in there or not, he's certainly deserving of the opportunity in a key moment in a key game to try to get it for us as our featured back. But again, that's just one of the decisions you make in the moment, and you got to move forward with it. There's other things I certainly could have done over the course of the game that would have put us in a better position. Unfortunately, we couldn't get it done. But the majority of the year, and I was looking at this Yahoo Sports statistic, when Joe Mixon has an opportunity to get a first down, whether it's 1 or 2 yards, he usually is successful. So this, once again, is a coaching problem, also a miscommunication that really cost the Bengals in the long run.
Yeah, P. Ryan's okay. I mean, but he's still a number 2 back. And Joe Mixon, Mixon has always been right on the cusp of being a really, really good running back, but he's always had some injury problems in previous years that kind of held him back. He didn't have that this year. I mean, he was healthy most of the season. But the bottom line is 2 things that were going to my mind. They were 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2, right around the 50-yard line. They couldn't get 2 yards in 3 downs. I mean, whether it's bad coaching, whether it's bad, what's the word? Actually,
play call. It's play calling. I mean,
play calls. I mean, or just getting it done. I mean, they couldn't get 2 yards. Now, I will tell you, in my opinion, running Joe Mixon had some great games against some talented defensive lines, but the Rams are pretty darn good. I mean, their D-line is a little bit tougher than most. To me, and I haven't really heard anybody mention this, and I get it. Look, if you're at the Super Bowl, if you're an underdog, which they were only a 4-point underdog, although in Harry's mind, I think they were like a 20-point dog. Didn't you say that he said it was going to be a blowout? I don't know. I just remember that.
Yes, he did. He said, put all your chips out on the table. Love Harry, the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire. But this was a close game. And the reason why it was close is because the Odell Beckham injury, it really put that offense out of sorts. And then on top of it, Mixon had some success. I believe 17 carries for 72 yards or something along those lines. So he was getting yards. He was moving the chains. That's why it's so disappointing that he's not in. And how, as a coaching staff, you're not calling a timeout with a player like that. I get it. It's inexperience. But once again, that costs you. And people want to look back at the penalties, as they should, because they came at critical times. But going for fourth down in the first half, that cost you because you could have punted the ball away. And then
that's the biggest one for me.
Right.
That's that was the point I was about to make beforehand, is a lot of people have forgotten about that. And I get it. If you're going to win a Super Bowl, you got to take chances. And that was kind of my point. Maybe if they were a big underdog, they were only a 4-point dog. They were in that game. Their defense, I think, did a much better job, not shutting down, but certainly controlling to an extent that Rams offense. And you're right. Once Beckham went down, it made it even easier. But I was really surprised on 4th and 1 that early in the game that they went for that and didn't punt the ball and pin the Rams back, inside the 10 or inside the 20. Hindsight's 20/20. I get it. But even before they didn't make it on 4th down, I was really surprised about that call. But it was a gutsy call, and usually people like that. If he made it, he's a hero. If he doesn't, well, there were other things that happened, and again, penalties happen. But boy, and I'm not one to blame refs at all, because there's a lot of other times to win or lose a game. But it was surprising that a game that they let play for 58, 59 minutes, all of a sudden, those whistles came out in the last minute to 90 seconds. It was surprising. I don't think it determined the game, but it certainly was surprising.
Do you think with that penalty call on the linebacker, was that holding or was that interference in your opinion? Or should the refs let them play at that point? Because I didn't think it was a critical I don't think you could call that penalty. But of course, when you call that penalty, it's critical because it gives the Rams second life. And then after that, it's basically done at that point.
Yep, it's an automatic first down. It's huge. And again, if you're going to call it that way the whole game, so be it. But they weren't.
Right.
I mean, the refs were and I love it when the refs let them play. I get so sick of all the penalties. Maybe the refs think that they're a big part of the game. They're not. Nobody cares about the refs. They could care less about the refs. You want to see the guys play the game. And I get it. If it's blatant or, obviously a personal foul of some sort, taunting, whatever, so be it. But come on, little stuff like that. And I was not rooting for the Bengals or the Rams. I didn't care who won that game. So I'm not a bitter fan about it. I was surprised that all of a sudden they started making those calls inside the 5-yard line with the game on the line. That is not the way they've been called. They've been calling the game the whole time that way, so be it. But they weren't. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. And the T. Higgins play, he got away with something there. So a lot of people say, well, the refs were against the Bengals. But the Bengals, they got that call. So, it's just disappointing how it worked out. And then at the end of the day, if you look at that last play, and then we'll get on to the Bucs here, if Joe Burrow is given a couple more seconds to throw the ball, he's got Jamar Chase down the field wide open, because once again, your favorite corner, my favorite corner, Jalen Ramsey fell down. It would have been a 49-yard touchdown, and the Bengals most likely would have went on to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, those games are full of probably moments like that. It's more magnified during the Super Bowl, obviously. But, yeah, if you give any quarterback the caliber of Joe Burrow or Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen or Tom Brady a little bit of extra time, he'll pick you apart. And you're right. But against the Rams, with that offensive line, that's a challenge, because the Bengals offensive line is not particularly strong anyway. That's a nice way of putting it. And the Rams, at that point, there are a lot of folks, and this was an interesting conversation. Once Aaron Donald got into the game, when they were in his face, when he pushed Burrows out of bounds, which, by the way, that was not a penalty. In my opinion, that was not a penalty. He was still in bounds. He was not out of bounds. He pushed him hard. He's a strong guy. You know what? He didn't go high. He pushed him hard. It's football. He pushed him hard, And but I also understand the Bengals offense. They're going to stick up for their quarterback. I mean, both sides were okay in what they did, but it certainly seemed to light a fire under Aaron Donald at that point, because from then on, he was unstoppable.
Yeah, and look, a lot of people said that Donald should have been the MVP. Do you feel like that's true, or did you like the MVP selection of Cooper Kupp, 8 catches for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns?
I think either one of them. I thought it was going to be Donald. After the game was over, I thought they were going to give it to Donald, but they like to give it to offensive guys more than defense. That's just the way it is. I think both picks were legit. I personally would have given it to Donald. I thought he had more of an impact down the stretch, but certainly Cooper Kupp, you can't go wrong. He's the best receiver this year in football.
All right, Denis, let's go ahead and switch gears here. Tom Brady revealed on his Let's Go podcast, he said he's super content and happy. He also goes on to say he's taking things day by day, and he also said that he refused to rule out a future comeback. So, and then he went on his podcast a couple weeks ago and said, never say never. So he's never said retirement. There's a report this weekend that the Bucs are still holding out hope. I mean, what do you make of this situation? There's been conflicting reports from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated that there was some problems in the organization. He liked Jason Light, he liked BA, but they weren't as buttoned up, if you will. Other reports out there, he may want to go to another team. And now the Bucs could be looking at, once again, other quarterbacks, namely a Deshaun Watson and a Russell Wilson. Your thoughts on this whole Brady situation that continues to have layers to this story?
You know, you wonder if Tom Brady just is like kind of messing with people.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and hey, fine if he does. I mean, you know, he's kind of like that, and I don't see the downside. I mean, he likes the attention. Any person who's really, really good at what they do, one of the best in the world, usually never really minds the attention. It's not always like that, but it usually is. And he's getting a ton of play with this, and he's probably having some fun with it. You know, who knows what he's going to do. I read the same report that you did this weekend, and you know, saying that the Bucs aren't writing off, you know, the fact that he could return, and maybe he will, maybe he won't. There's so many maybes, but it seems like the Bucs are probably the one team in the entire NFL that they now are pretty much associated with every single potential quarterback out there. Because I mean, I've literally heard, oh, what about Carson Wentz? What about Deshaun Watson? I mean, and I think, what was it? Yesterday they were talking about Watson either going to the Bucs or one other team. I can't remember who it was.
The Vikings.
The Vikings. Yeah. Vikings.
We went all Britney Spears today, and they said that Watson has the Bucs and the Vikings on his radar. How do I know that? I have no idea. I have sisters, once again. Don't hold that against me. But, you know, is that really surprising? I mean, and I feel like the fan base is out there, and they're like, well, this Bucs team, they're not really good, but they are, and that's why a lot of top quarterbacks want to play for them. So, you know, to me, is it really surprising that Watson does have the Bucs on his radar? And do you think other quarterbacks, namely a Russell Wilson and an Aaron Rodgers, wouldn't mind following a Tom Brady, would see that once again the Bucs are an attractive destination?
Let's put it simple. Is there any other team in the NFL that needs a quarterback more than the Bucs right now?
No,
there's not.
No,
I mean, we don't have a quarterback.
No,
and, you know, everybody else might have a mediocre quarterback, you know, whether you're talking about Zach Wilson or whether you're talking about, you know, whoever. I mean, but they at least know that they're Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. He had a great year, by the way. But, you know, whether or not they have somebody that they're happy with is another story. But the Bucs do not have a starting quarterback. Right. Kyle Trask is not a starting quarterback. So at least not yet. And I don't think he ever will be, but that's just my opinion. So of course, every quarterback out there that's even talking about wanting a trade, Kyler or Deshaun, or, you know, maybe a free, or Russell Wilson, or a potential free, or Carson Wentz, you know, it's always going to come back to the Bucs because they are the team that needs a quarterback. So, I mean, it's going to go on like this for months, which is pretty entertaining. But if anybody's thinking that we're going to get a solution before summer, I certainly don't see it.
I think it's a couple weeks. I think this is
really.
I really think, and I've heard some things. I've talked to some people about this that the Bucs could be prepared to move on without a Tom Brady. Honestly, at this point, I'll believe it when I see it. According to Mike Giardi of NFL Media, he says, I talked to a couple of people who were with Brady in Foxborough. They know him very well, and they said, I don't believe for a second that he's done. A lot of people feel like Brady was almost forced in that direction to retire. He added about the quarterback's postseason announcement, which came at the initial denials from his own camp, and he doesn't want to go in that direction just yet. He also says the situation in Tampa, they ran it back last year. They didn't win a title. Now there's some cap concerns. Can they bring everybody back? It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Maybe, just maybe, Tom Brady is looking elsewhere and saying, I can win a title here, and maybe I can win one elsewhere. He did not close the door on playing football. Now, I know I've had Mike Giardi on this show before. He's pretty close with the Brady camp. You see those comments, and at the end of the day, he may want to go somewhere else, and that may be Brady. But on the contract side, the Bucs still have his rights. So, by July or by June, I believe, they can put him on the reserve list as retired and move on. But you almost certainly, Dennis, have to have a decision before then, because like you said, there are quarterbacks out there, and you have Chris Godwin. And according to Jeremy Fowler, he's excited about hitting free agency. But for me, the majority of the free agents you want to get back, they want to have confidence that you're going to have a quarterback. Namely, if you have a Russell Wilson, more than likely you're going to get an opportunity to re-sign a Chris Godwin. So it is important for the Bucs in here in the next couple weeks to make a decision, and this falls on Brady. So I think it's going to be an interesting situation that will work itself out here in the next couple weeks. It's about to get real busy.
Do you think they're going to franchise tag Chris Godwin?
No, I think they franchise tag Carlton Davis. But you look at the numbers which have been projected for Godwin. It's 4 years, $70 million. So how much does that work out to? That's what you're going to have to pay him. And according to Fowler, the Bucs would already have this extension done. But of course, he's coming off an ACL injury. So is it a mistake for the Bucs to not sign him to an extension, allow him to test free agency out instead of getting him an extension at this point, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what else is available, what the cap issue is. And again, a lot of that, I guess, comes back to Tom Brady. You're right. I don't know. For some reason, I think this is going to drag on till June. I do. I would be really surprised if it's so clean and done early. A lot of times this stuff, I mean, look at what happened with Aaron Rodgers last year, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, that dragged on until middle of August. You still didn't know where he was going to be a quarterback. So, and I see that the Packers are saying they're all in on re-signing him in 2022. So we'll see. But
not getting married either, by the way. Shailene Woodley, they're done. Once again, Aaron Rodgers, he had Olivia Munn. He had, I'm trying to think of the lady who used to drive, I can't think of her, Danica Patrick. And now Woodley, they're all done. So he got cold feet. He's single again. So, I mean, is he thinking about, I'm just putting out there, was she trying to get him to go to another place? Now is he set on staying with the Packers? I mean, what do you make of this situation? You hear Russell Wilson the other night. He's saying, I like to stay with Seattle. And I get it, Dennis. I don't expect these guys, to come on and say, I want to trade. But
except for Kyler. Kyler said that pretty much.
Kyler Murray is saying, and then you hear this report, but getting back to it, Rodgers and Wilson first. Rodgers goes back to Green Bay. In your opinion, are they still a Super Bowl team at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not? I mean, they've been a Super Bowl team every year. They haven't made it, but they've been right there. Mm-hmm. And if it weren't for a blocked punt in Green Bay, they would have been playing at home against the Rams. And in that cold weather, who knows? So sure, as long as Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are there, and to an extent, their running back core, they split the core with Dylan, and I don't know. I think they're there. I do. I think the Cardinals are really, that's a much more interesting situation and one more volatility, because Kyler never seemed, you never really heard him saying anything negative in the press. You never really heard much of anything. And then all of a sudden, after the one game, he takes all his affiliation stuff with the Cardinals down? And is he just looking for a paycheck? Is he just doing it to try to coerce them to give him a contract? Because his contract's up after next year, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's up for an extension at this point, and other reports are out there from Mike Garafolo of NFL Media that Colt McCoy was trying to persuade him to go back in the game. And basically he told McCoy, I'm done. I don't want back in. He was very frustrated after that Rams game. He didn't play his best game, but again, the Cardinals, they're not putting a lot of pieces, namely on that offensive line. 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. You hear from Chris Mortensen over the weekend, he's immature. The Cardinals as an organization want him to step up as a leader more. They want him to use his voice. I mean, does he seem like he could be traded from the Cardinals to the Bucs? And are you excited, if you are a Bucs fan, to get a Kyler Murray at his young age with some of the maturity issues?
Those are good questions. Maturity issues sometimes are remedied as you get older. Right. And as you face adversity and as you kind of get it. That's kind of disturbing that I had not heard that report about that they'd wanted him to go back. I mean, he was getting destroyed in that game.
Right.
There was no way they were coming back. I mean, they eventually, went to their backup quarterback near the end, but they weren't going to come back in that game. But it doesn't matter if they're going to come back or not. You expect as a fan to see your starting quarterback in the playoffs every second of the game, unless they're going to drag you off. I mean, look at Burrow. Look at Burrow. When they took that close-up shot of him, when his knee got twisted or whatever, did you not think, oh, man? But he stayed in there because that's what you do. Carson Wentz, same thing. Gets a lot of grief from a lot of people. The guy is tough as nails, and you got to fight to get those guys off the field. So in a playoff game, I don't care if you're down by 3 or 4 touchdowns or not. If you're just saying you don't want to go back in, I have an issue with that. But again, like you said, he's young, and maybe it's a learning experience, and maybe some of his offensive linemen and other people get on him a little bit, and he grows up a bit more. I mean, I've not heard anything of that nature, but it certainly sounds like that could be a possibility. And sometimes he goes to another play, but then again, there's sometimes where those guys just like that for their whole career. I'm not saying he's like that, but we've seen both, whether it's football or baseball or basketball. There's some guys that no matter what, they just, I'd say Johnny Manziel might have been one of those guys.
Yeah.
And Johnny Manziel eventually just got tossed out of the league. I mean, he wasn't that good as a professional anyway, but there are all these guys out there that I think need to do some growing up, and some of them do, and they turn into great quarterbacks and leaders. Some of them don't. So I guess we'll find out what happens with Kyler. But you asked me last week, would I like Kyler Murray to be on the Bucs? Yeah. Are you kidding me? The guy's an elite talent. So
has changed your mind though with hearing that report that he basically quit, and I don't know what that is. Some warning, I guess. I don't know what that was. Has it changed your mind with hearing that report that look, the game was never in doubt at that point. So whether he goes back in a minute or not, he's not going to win the game for the Cardinals. But does that change your mind? Is that a red flag for you that says, yeah, maybe we don't need to trade for this guy, even though he's young and athletic and he's progressively getting better every year? Maybe his attitude is the thing that's going to basically hold him back, because at the end of the day, a quarterback can have all the tools you want, but if they can't face adverse situations, you're going to think twice, right?
No.
Okay.
Me personally, if you can get a Kyler Murray, you get a Kyler Murray. And you're right. I wouldn't be happy about that, but it was one time. And did he have a reputation of being like that in college? Not that I'd ever heard. Maybe he did. Right. Matter of fact, Baker Mayfield had a heck of a lot bigger issue in terms of being a lead. And that's a perfect example. Baker Mayfield in college was a troubled person. I mean, he had the big issues with the police and his girlfriend and all that stuff. I mean, he took a lot of heat for what happened to him in college. And I'll tell you, as a pro, I mean, outside of the little rant that he had last season, I mean, that guy, you had to drag him off the field, and he certainly has been a leader in that team. Now, he's had so many injuries and whatnot, but I think that's something that as you grow and mature, you can grow into. And personally, this is just my opinion, I think, again, Kyler Murray is an elite talent. You just don't get a lot of those talented guys, Lamar and Kyler and Trey Lance next year with the Niners, who's going to be every bit as good. Justin Fields, who obviously didn't do much this year, but those guys are so rare that I think you take a chance. And Deshaun, obviously. And who knows what's going to happen with Deshaun.
Who knows at this point? I want to read this comment. This is from, once again, the Let's Go podcast from Tom Brady. The Tampa Bay Times mentioned they felt like, and a lot of media outlets out there felt like Tom Brady was taking a shot at the Bucs organization. Listen to this. Matt was a very talented quarterback, and he went to a very competitive organization where you have Aaron Donald there, and you have Jalen Ramsey, and I know those guys are very competitive. You have Sean McVay, who's a great young coach, and then they bring in the same year, Odell Beckham Jr., and they go all in with Odell. He's a great first quarter and half in that game, and they go and trade for Von Miller. I really believe you got to go for it. It takes a really bold, no one's going to hand deliver you these trophies. He also says, I think so many people in the NFL think their time will come, and the reality is you got to make it happen. You got to go out there and do whatever it takes to get the job done and put yourself in position to win Super Bowls. Does that sound like he's taking a shot at the Bucs? I mean, look, they went all in the year they won the Super Bowl. They kind of went all in, although you kind of feel like Brady still wanted an Odell Beckham. And at the time, BA said, look, we got too many letters here. We got AB. We don't need an Odell Beckham. We don't need another pass rusher. And of course, they had the salary cap constraints for the Bucs. Is that taking a shot at this organization, you feel like?
No. They resigned every single person from last year's Super Bowl championship team. Every starter. I mean, how can you do any better than that? A year ago, 10 months ago, we were all singing their praises. Are you kidding me? They're the first team ever to win a Super Bowl and re-sign every single person. You couldn't do any more. I mean, and honestly, after he left Cleveland, who wanted OBJ?
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
Nobody.
Well,
he was a troublemaker. You talk about troublemakers.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. I mean, he was as big of a troublemaker as there was. He wasn't performing on the field. He wanted the ball thrown to him more, and he was a distraction. I mean, that is, you already had AB. So, no, and I don't think that's a shot at all. I think that's just Tom Brady looking at the Rams and recognizing that, you know what, hey, they did go for it. They did try to get everything that they could, and they did, and it won them a Super Bowl. I don't think it had anything to do with the Bucs, but that's just, again, what do I know?
Well, you know a lot because you're on the sports web here. You're our sports broadcaster. Go ahead and give us the forecast for the week, my friend.
Record highs tomorrow. We're going to be about 85, 86. It's going to be beautiful. Friday, got a weak front coming in. So we cool off to the mid 70s on Saturday. So that's where we should be. Maybe some clouds in the morning, sunny in the afternoon. Daytona looks good on Sunday, by the way, for the 500. We're going to be about 79 or 80. Really nice day. All of next week, sunny, mid to upper 80s. So it's going to be super warm, record highs every day. The only day that isn't going to be exceptionally warm is going to be on Saturday, and it's still going to be in the mid 70s. So good weather for Daytona.
All right, I want you to go ahead and promote yourself here. Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. Go for it.
Well, like I've been saying a while ago, I've been here, 30 years. So if you're looking for some weather, you can find me on social media on Dennis Phillips. What's my social media? I don't even, Dennis Phillips, I think. It's just all in on Facebook. I don't even know. There's so many of those things out there now. And I'm on TV every now and again, whenever the little light goes on and they're yelling in my ear, Dennis, start talking. I start talking. Outside of that, you can find us on social media.
All right, there you go. ABC Action News is Denis Phillips, meteorologist, but sports broadcaster here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Thanks a lot for your time, my friend.
See you later, Peter. Have a good one.
There you go. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Let's go out to the comments. I see Daniel Derricks is trying to call. Call back, my friend. We're on with Dennis. We try to give him as much time as possible. Always love hearing him talk about, the Super Bowl, fantasy football, and the Bucs. It gives you a different perspective. And, of course, he's in that cool-ass studio. Just saying. All right, what's up, guys, says Christopher Cole. Well, ask and you shall receive. We'll read the comments in a moment. Daniel, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You're leading it off here on I Love St. Pete and the Hub. Go.
Hi. All right. I was wondering what happened. I mean, you get an Amber Alert on your phone, and then all of a sudden I was like, "What happened to Cricket Wireless feed that you have?" I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
kidding. I know
yeah,
you're
no,
ready
I
to go.
got it. I got the Amber Alert. I did. I got it right on there. I was like, what the heck is this? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
you're
got the
calling
same
me up
thing
here.
2
So
seconds later.
yeah, so what do you think about all these rumors? I know you want to talk about that, so go for it.
Well, I mean, it's crazy. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens these next few weeks. I honestly think that it should be like what you think. I think maybe 2 weeks or maybe a month. I don't know. It could even end up being in preseason. Who knows? Or during the draft. Who knows? It's going to be very interesting to see. But these whole rumors about Tom Brady coming back, I don't think it's going to happen. I really, really don't. I hate to say it, Pete, and break it to you, but I think Tom Brady is truly done. I felt that way. I think his wife really encouraged him to be with his family and his kids and everything, to be able to see them and everything else. I honestly do. He's had a heck of a run. He's been doing it for 22 years. I'm 24, going to be 25 very soon. So I look at it and say he's been doing it since I was 3 years old.
Jeez.
By playing, and I can't believe it. How crazy it's been. So I honestly think that that's not going to happen. He's not going to do a Brett Favre move. You know what I mean by that? Brett Favre didn't know when he was going to retire. Oh, I'll retire. Oh, I won't retire. Oh, I will retire. He keeps his word. Tom Brady's going to keep his word on it. And that's how I feel on this matter. Like, he kept his word in Super Bowl 55, saying, "No, we're going to go for another one. We're going to go for another one."
Well, so
he wasn't nonchalant about it.
Then why, when he's asked about it, why did he say never? And why is he continuing to say? Why wouldn't he come out and say, "I'm retired, Daniel"? Why wouldn't he just put it to bed?
But another thing too is, like, who writes a 6-7 paragraph essay, so to speak, on Instagram and social media saying, "Here's what's going on here."
Right.
And then on top of that, you have reports 2 days beforehand saying those things. It was funny because I was watching ABC Action News and Greg D was on there, and he had said in the morning, he said, who knows if that essay got leaked. And that's why people knew what was going on, because when they asked his family, he asked his dad, "Hey, is this true?" He's like, "No, well, Tom never told me about any of this thing." So he probably kept it quiet, even with his family as well. But honestly, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It was funny when I was watching Dennis Phillips, he was mentioning Russell Wilson. I was actually thinking Russell Wilson at one time, but then I was kind of like, no. But then I was kind of thinking, you know what? It's possible. And here's why.
Okay.
You have, and I thought of his name. I can't think of his name. He's a cornerback. We just got him. He played for the Seahawks. Richard Sherman. There we go. Richard Sherman is on there. It'll be interesting to see if he extends his contract. We know he got injured. We know that he didn't, play a lot when he signed with the Bucs. But I'm sure he'll probably get healthy and if he decides. But if in fact can't think of his name again. Help me out here, Pete. I just said the name.
Russell Wilson?
Russell Westbrook. And Russell Westbrook is a basketball player for the league.
That's right. That's okay. Russell Wilson. You want to ever compare anybody to Russell Westbrook? That guy's shooting bricks as we speak right now.
No, yes, he is. He should be in the G League. That is correct.
Yes. Russell Wilson.
If Russell Wilson goes into the Bucs, knowing you're having a cornerback, you'll be able to probably sign another extended year for him.
Right.
But here's another possibility, because you were talking about Ronald Jones. We were talking about Ronald Jones kind of maybe if he does go to a different team or trade or nothing or whatever the case happens with Leonard Fournette.
Right.
Wouldn't it be interesting? Now, we've seen Gronk do it. We know Gronk's in his mid-30s. Gronk said he would only come back in football to play with Tom Brady.
Sure.
But wouldn't it be interesting? Let's just say, lo and behold, who knows? In a million years, this could happen. In a million years, it may not happen. What I'm saying is, wouldn't it be awesome if we brought beast mode back?
Well, I mean, the Bucs explored that. They explored it, and you heard from him that he didn't want to go to the Bucs. So I don't know. I guess he's pretty much done at this point. And look, you can find a running back in the later rounds. I mean, if you lose a Leonard Fournette, it's going to depend on. And again, I go back to this. This is why I think it's going to happen sooner than later with these free agents. You have all these free agents. they're not going to want to sign with the Bucs unless they have a quarterback. Blaine Gabbert is not moving the needle. He may know this offense, but, Chris Godwin's not jumping up and down and saying, yeah, I get to play with Blaine Gabbert. He's going to take us to the promised land. No, free agents aren't jumping up and down for Kyle Trask because he's unproven. Now, if you get a Deshaun Watson, if you get a Russell Wilson, if you get a Carson Wentz or an Aaron Rodgers or a Kyler Murray, then that's a different story. So that's why I feel like the Bucs as an organization, and that's why I always say to these fans, have faith in what they're doing, have faith in what Jason Light, BA, and the Glazers are going to do, because I feel like that window is open for them to win a championship. So I just don't see Blaine Gabbert. I don't see a Kyle Trask. I think they're going to go big quarterback game hunting because not only are you going to have more success that way, okay, but also you're going to have more success in signing your own free agents and possibly attracting some others if you get that quarterback. You want to push that needle, and that's what those big game quarterbacks do. So I feel like it's going to be in a couple weeks. We're going to have something, and once you do, and who knows, maybe Tom Brady does come back and he says, you know what, the Bucs are doing whatever I need them to do. I feel like we can make a run for a Super Bowl, so I'll come back for a year and see if we can do it. If not, then the Bucs can move on. And at that end of the day, they're going to have to move on. They're going to have to figure out this situation because it's not only with the players, but also it's the salary cap itself.
Here's another interesting part, too, that you got to think of as well. Gronk hasn't announced a retirement, has he?
Correct. He has not. He has not retired.
He's been quiet.
Yep.
He's been very quiet about stuff.
Right.
And so it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening even with him. So these next few weeks, I want to say, is going to be very interesting. Come the end of March or early April, there are going to be some very interesting things that are going to be happening and unfolding, I feel.
Yeah.
Now, here's another thing, too. Let's go back in memory lane, back into 2020, when we heard the announcement Tom Brady was going to sign with the Bucs, and I thought to myself, okay, this has got to be a rumor. And sure enough, it wasn't a rumor. It was confirmed that he signed with them. We didn't expect that to happen.
No.
I mean, obviously we had COVID going on, and that was a big distraction and the highlight of everything on the news. But then when we found out that Tom Brady was doing it, it was like it was like awesome. It was an awesome feeling to have that.
Sure.
And so I thought, oh wow, this is crazy. Why all of a sudden, he's with the Patriots for that long? Why did he go with this? And I realized that, well, of course, you had a little fallout with Belichick, which we won't get into, but we all know about the whole fallout with Belichick and everything. It's kind of a bitter moment there with the whole situation. I always found Bill Belichick to be a grumpy old man anyway, but
right.
That's just my opinion.
And that's why I laugh at it when Albert Breer comes out from Sports Illustrated, and I keep on calling Breer. I don't know why. It's Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, and he says, Tom was upset because it wasn't as buttoned up. Well, wait a minute. The reason why he went to the Bucs is because it was unbuttoned. Now he's upset because it's buttoned up. Come on. Come on now. You can't have, things both your way. This organization rolled out the red carpet for him. They went out and got the players he needed to get. They tried to run it back. It didn't work out. I'm under the same, the idea that he may be wanting to be retired because of his family. Maybe it wasn't his choice, but I'm also under the impression that if the Bucs show him that they are truly a Super Bowl team and they're going for another one, maybe they can convince him to come out and retire. I don't know. I don't know what to think, but he has not come out the last couple of weeks when asked about it and said, I'm retired. He has not said that. He said, never say never. So until he officially says, I'm retired, I'm not coming back, never say never. It's not going to happen. Until that happens for me, I'm going to keep it open. Good stuff, Daniel. Anything else, my friend?
Nothing really. I mean, I'm looking forward to my trip tomorrow. I leave out of here in the afternoon. I'll be working for a little bit and then heading on back. Hey, I feel you, man. Sales is crazy this week. I honestly think for a whole solid month it's been crazy with sales.
Yep.
But I know you're talking about sports and everything and all, but it's been crazy. But that's kind of why I'm getting away for a little bit. I haven't flown like 4 years, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to vent in a little bit later here, but, I was dealing with a lot of the people on the phone today that had killer personalities, and what that basically means is you would rather kill yourself than talk to them on the phone. That's the kind of people I was dealing with today. So once again, thanks a lot for calling the evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'll give you the Byron laugh.
How about them Bucks, baby?
All right.
And definitely don't be a stranger here on the Sports Web Live on I Love St. Pete and the Hub. All right? Safe travels, my
Good
friend.
night, my friend.
All right. Good night,
Thank
buddy.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good stuff there. I'm just saying, I mean, it happens every Wednesday when we're on this show. I get to vent to you about my other job, because if I do that on the job, there's a possibility of losing it. And I don't want to do that. That was the kind of day it was. Oh, you want this? Okay. All right, great. No, I don't want it. Oh, I want to save money. Well, how do you save money? By doing something different. Oh, well, I'm going to do the same thing over again. Well, how are you going to save money? I mean, it makes no sense. Make it make sense. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So I get to come on the show. I get to vent to you. I get to hang up on you if you're jerks.
Shut up!
All right, so let's go out to this guy, Sean the Sports Don. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Your thoughts?
What's going on, Starter?
What's going on, buddy?
Tonight?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm hanging in there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. It was a great show you got going on, man. I just want to call you guys up, man, and just tell you, I heard you talk about the Tom Brady situation and things like that. I'm a little different than the rest of the fans here. I know a lot of fans are wanting Tom Brady back and whatnot. Listen, if you can't commit to the team right now, then the Bucs need to move on. We've seen this situation before. Brett Favre doing the whole waiver, and I don't know. Eventually, the Packers got tired of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the Bucs are trying to make decisions right now, free agents trying to make decisions whether or not the Bucs are viable, they want to know who the quarterback is.
Right.
So if Tom Brady wants to play, then he needs to commit to the Bucs. If he doesn't want to play, then he needs to go ahead and say, I don't want to play. But the Bucs can't play this game because you're putting them between a rock and a hard place. So I believe, my opinion, I think Tom Brady is done. I think he just likes to say you never say never. But at this point, I don't think you need to hold out hope that this guy is coming back. And again, if he can't commit to you right now, then what are we doing? Like, we need to know if we need to go get Deshaun Watson. We need to know if we need to go get Russell Wilson. Obviously, you don't want to do those things if you have Tom Brady. But if you don't know that, these are the things the Bucs have to be thinking about. So if he can't commit, I don't know if I'm holding out for a quarterback who can't commit to my team right now. That's just, I've never seen that situation work. I mean, we saw it just this past year with Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. He was out there waffling and stuff. Obviously, he stayed with them, but that still didn't get him to the ultimate prize. You got to be all in, man.
Well,
if you're not all in, you're not helping us.
Well, I agree. I agree with you on that. It seems like, Aaron Rodgers waffles through his life. I mean, he's done with his Hollywood starlet, I guess, today. Woodley, they're done. So now he's moving on. I mean, it's his third woman. I mean, good for him. He can, still do his thing. But you're exactly right. In the distraction process in the locker room for the Green Bay Packers, I think that, they had a good record, number one record, but it was a distraction all year long. And that's exactly what you don't want. And I feel like, the Bucs are going to make a decision here in the next couple weeks before free agency. And they have to make a decision, Sean, because if you don't have a quarterback, how are you supposed to attract not only your own free agents re-signing like a Chris Godwin, a Carlton Davis, guys like that are important on this team, Ryan Jensen, possibly Alex Kappa, other guys. How are you supposed to attract other free agents from other teams if you don't have a quarterback? And don't give me this stuff that Kyle Trask and Blaine Gabbert are pushing the needle. They're not.
Well, they're not, and that just goes back to what I was saying. I don't, with the free agents starting in March, I don't know. See, I don't know where the Bucs are going to be there because a lot can happen even after that. But my point that I'm making is, we have to go for as if he's not here.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you can't commit to my team, then that's what it is. I'd rather sell a free agent that, trust me, guys, we're going to get someone in that's going to play quarterback at a high level, as opposed to saying we hope Tom Brady's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, even though that's a hard sell to say, but Chris Godwin, he knows our culture. He knows we have an organization that's about winning. So him re-signing, I can see that happening without a quarterback being in place. But I just don't think, because I don't know if the Bucs in 2 weeks, 3 weeks are going to make that type of thing. We're giving up 3 draft picks for Deshaun Watson, because he has a lot of stuff he has to go through from a court procedures and things of that nature. You got to go through all of those cases, and then we got to know if the NFL is going to suspend him. It's just a lot. I just don't like putting my eggs in a basket of someone who's waffling. You know what I mean? I just don't. I just don't. And it's a bad look. And if I'm the Buccaneers, I am doing everything I can. I'm not even thinking about Tom Brady. And I know a lot of fans don't want to hear that, but to win a Super Bowl, everybody got to be all in, and you can't be all in, halfway through the season. You got to buy in. You got to be in all in from the get-go.
With Tom Brady's recent comments, we're on with Sean the Sports Don, former co-host of this great show on a radio station in a galaxy far, far away here on the sports web, live on I Love St. Pete and the Hub. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let me read these comments. Matt was a very talented quarterback, and he went to a very competitive organization where you have Aaron Donald there. You have Jalen Ramsey, and I know those guys are very competitive. You have Sean McVay, who is a great young coach, and then they bring in the same year, Odell Beckham Jr., and they go all in with Odell, and he's great. He had a great first quarter and a half in that game, and they go with the trade for Von Miller. I really believe in that. You got to go for it. Do you feel like that's a shot at the Bucs? Because, talking to Denis right now, he feels like the Bucs did everything they could to try to go for a second Super Bowl. Is he kind of taking? Is he taking
a shot at the?
Okay.
I don't know if that's a shot at the Bucs. Because when we got Brady, the Bucs did the same thing. You go get Gronk, you go get AB, you go bring in Fournette. That's what they did. And then when you bring back everybody seemed to be on board on that. Now, maybe I don't know if he had a problem with us getting rid of AB when we did, but I don't think that's a shot at the Bucs. I think he looked at what they did and said, hey, that's what you do. You go forward. If you think you own that, you got to understand. The Rams have given up a lot of first-round picks, and they just didn't start the last 2 years. They gave up first-round picks when they got that boy Marcus Peters. They gave up first-round picks when they got a key to leave.
Correct.
But they have been doing this for some time. It's just paid off now.
And by the way, Les Snead, the general manager, said, F those picks. We're going to win some Super Bowls. So, don't. Right. That's the way they're going. And look, the blueprint was put out there by the Bucs with Tom Brady. So I kind of find it hard to believe that he was so disenchanted with this Buccaneer organization and how unbuttoned they were, because when we heard about Brady going from the Patriots to the Bucs, the reason was it was too buttoned up there with the New England Patriots. It can't be both ways. It can't be both ways.
Well, you got to also remember this, too. Part of the reason why he possibly left New England because he wanted a little bit more say in a lot of stuff. He didn't have say in the game plan. He had no say up there. That was the Patriots doing what they did, and he just ran what the Patriots said we're running. So he didn't have that. He wanted to be able to be a little bit more to express himself. So, the Bucs had the little Gronk and Brady show that they had on their webpage that they would do all the time.
Right.
So Brady showed his personality a little bit more here in Tampa than he did when he was up there with New England. I don't know if he's taking shots. Again, he may be mad at some of the minute details as it relates to some coaching decisions. Again, maybe he's mad about the Antonio Brown thing.
Is it BA? Do you think he's mad at BA? Is it a case of where he's trying to pull a power play? And I'm not going to take credit for this. I'm going to give credit to where credit is due. JP Peterson of FanStream Sports, the JP Peterson show, mentioned this. Could it be the fact of he's waiting for BA to retire, Byron Leftwich to take the reins as the new head coach? Is it BA in your? Do you believe this friction that the reason why he retired is not only on the family situation, but because there is some friction in that organization, and it starts with the coaching staff?
Listen, I don't know too many people at their office, at their jobs, love their bosses 100%. You know what I mean? Like I've had
Well, I'm
bosses
not
that
going
I
to
actually
admit to
love.
that.
Oh, well, I'm just telling you. I've had bosses that I've actually 100% love, but there were some things about them that I 100% hated. But you know what I mean? But we were able to coexist and still do great things.
Sure.
So listen, you win a Super Bowl with somebody, and 1 year later it's like, oh, I don't like this guy. Again, I just think we're overcooking the grits here. I don't think if there's an issue with him in BA, I don't think that's too much to say, well, I can't come back and play
And
for
by
this
the
guy.
way, I want to
wait a minute. Hold on. When you play for a guy like Bill Belichick for 20 years,
right?
Like, there's no way that in 2 years you're tired of Arians, who's won Coach of the Year twice, who everybody loves, meaning all his players. I've never heard of players talk bad about him, and I also have never heard of coaches that he coached with talk bad about him. That's why all these coaches come here. They love him. So if you're telling me all of these things, and the only person who will have a problem with VA is Tom Brady, then that tells me that's more of a Tom Brady issue than it is a VA issue at this point. Because again, I've never heard ex-players talk bad against VA. I've never heard these coaches who coach under VA talk bad about VA. They follow VA. So again, I can't go through what the media is trying to push right now because it just doesn't make any sense to me. But also, I wasn't in that locker room.
You're exactly right. And by the way, you can't overcook grits. I did that the other day just to try it. We're on with my former co-host there, Sean, the Sports Don. Yeah, it was not good. It was not a good experience here on the Sports Web. This is always a good experience to have this guy on. I want to go to JP Peterson in his interview with Solomon Wilcots. And Wilcots says, I think when it's all said and done, do you think Tom Brady's retirement, and I know he's going through his own process, but on the scale, he had to be how this season was more tiring and had to be more worrisome because by the end, remember last year, they let Tom do Tom. They gave him everything he needed to run what he wanted to run. Now it's as if at the end of the year, they're taking it back. They're doing things differently offensively, not allowing Tom to have complete control. Hey, let's do this. Let's try this. It had to be tiresome from him. JP says, well, we've heard these stories. We're not going to go into the details. You and I have talked about the Bucs, and there's something there. Levante David said there was turmoil. Seth Wicksham, a confidant of Brady, said it was harder in the building. Wilcots says it was harder. Your thoughts?
My thoughts is this. Again, with me not being in the building, everything I've heard about the Bucs, let's say the Super Bowl year, it was Tom Brady ran our offense. Obviously, we catered to what made him comfortable, but it was still the Bucs offense. We executed better as the season went on, but we were running the same plays we were running in the beginning of the year, but we just did it better. Did they incorporate more play action in the second half of the year when we won the Super Bowl? Yes. I don't believe this whole narrative that Tom Brady just did what the heck he wanted to do. Because you know why I don't believe that? Because we were still throwing the ball deep down the field. That was something Tom Brady hadn't done for a very long time. So when you're still throwing the ball deep down the field and everything is 20-yard completion, that is a Bruce Arians offense, okay? So what we did this year, again, it's hard. It's easy to go and be an armchair GM or Monday morning quarterback and say things because you want to get a narrative out there. I can't say that he was pissed off. I do believe the Bucs probably did try to incorporate more Bruce Arians, really just a lot of other things, and they were hoping that Tom Brady had to have evolved with that by knowing the playbook a little bit more. I do believe that.
Right.
I do believe that. And it's like, hey, Tom, let's like, we really got more in this playbook we really could attack. And maybe Tom Brady might have been a little bit more like, no, I still like throwing the ball to Leonard Fournette 15 times a game. And it's like, you know what? We can really kill a team by just doing this. So maybe that's a problem. And then Tom Brady not trusting, because you got to remember too, at the end of the year, we had a lot of injuries in that in the wide receiving core, and Tom Brady wasn't trusting possibly throwing to him. So maybe that was a part of it. But I can't look at it as Tom Brady is mad because I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. I just think they're They're trying to make a story where it wasn't there, because again, that team was still putting up 30 points. So I don't know how you can get mad at putting up 30 points when you're putting up 30 points.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, I mean, it makes lots of sense.
I can understand if we were only scoring 15 points or 10 points. I can say yes,
right.
The Bucs need to listen to Tom Brady, but we were still putting up a lot of points.
Yep.
So it's hard for me to just jump on that bandwagon. And again, no, I'm not in that locker room. I don't have the context and the sources.
What do you make of Levante David and his turmoil comment? I mean, what do you make of it? Is that AB? This is kind of how I see it. And it's just, me thinking out loud, because I try to think when I'm off, line here about certain situations, look at it from a different perspective. We know how much Tom Brady wanted AB in that building. We know how much he wanted on the team. And it worked out, Sean. They won a Super Bowl. But what if I told you that once he had the fake vaccination status, BA said, you know what? He's gone. I don't want him anymore. And Tom Brady pulled a power play and said, no, we got to keep him. And that's where the friction started. And then, of course, when AB quit on the team, then you have more friction, because now you have BA and maybe that offensive coaching staff saying, well, we told you so, Tom. And Tom's a prideful guy. Do you think it's a situation like that?
No, what I think is this. Well, first of all, I've seen players, a lot of times when they're in interviews, they'll say some things, especially if you're not really polished as it relates to handling the media and things of that nature. So, like Tom Brady is very polished when it comes to dealing with the media. So when he's interviewed, he doesn't say 3 words when 2 will do. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Levante Davis saying turmoil, that may be not the word he really wanted to use, but that's what he said.
Sure.
And people are now looking into it more than what it really means. So when I say turmoil, so let's take him at his word that he meant turmoil.
That's a strong word. That's a very strong word, Sean.
Okay, but turmoil also means when you have the vaccination cards that you're talking about. Guess what? AB wasn't the only one who had a vaccination card. Anthony Edwards had that. I mean, our boy Edwards had that.
Mike Edwards, right? Your boy.
Okay?
Yes.
Right. Now, not only that. Now you have a situation where your running back Rojo is not getting the carries that he's supposed to. Maybe Rojo's having a little bit of issues there. Had nothing to do with Tom Brady being mad, but maybe Rojo is not as happy. So maybe he's talking about that. Maybe he's talking about the fact that you have a guy, and I talked about it. You have a guy in JPP who we're playing a lot in the beginning of the season when he had a broke shoulder and a broke finger. And I don't even know which hand was the better hand, the one that was blown off or the one that was wrapped up. But it was going on. You had that, and maybe you had some rumblings of, why are we playing this guy when we should be playing this other dude because he's not healthy? So you know what I'm saying? I don't know what he meant by turmoil. Because once you win a Super Bowl, a lot of people start feeling themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Anthony Edwards, I keep calling him Anthony Edwards because I'm thinking of basketball right now.
I know you do.
But maybe Edwards wanted to get more playing time at safety and thought maybe I should be playing a little bit more than I'm getting. I should be playing more. We got all these injuries in the secondary. I should be playing more of the slot when he wasn't getting a lot of the slot at the beginning. We were trying to put in
Sean
the
Murphy
other guy. I
Bunting.
can't think of his.
Yeah, Sean
Not
Murphy.
Murphy Bunting because he was hurt. What's the guy we brought in after Sean Murphy Bunting? The little, young light-skinned guy.
I know what you're talking about. Oh goodness. Not Pierre Desir. Ross Cockrell. Ross Cockrell.
Yes. Ross Cockrell.
Yeah.
So maybe Ross Cockrell, and he was getting hurt a little bit earlier. Maybe I should be playing. Because you see what I did. I got the 2 picks. Maybe I should be playing and not Ross Cockrell right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So when he said turmoil, those are the type of things that happen when you win a Super Bowl. People start feeling themselves. So it may have nothing to do with Tom Brady, but people are already putting it. It got to be because Tom Brady's mad at DA. Like maybe not. Maybe there were other things that Levante David was talking about, or maybe he just used the wrong word to say, you know what, we had a lot of challenges that we didn't overcome, as opposed to saying turmoil. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And when he said turmoil, it made people say, and I don't, again, he may have meant turmoil, but I do know a lot of times some people are not as polished to say things the way they want to say it, or they say something that they have a different meaning, or it comes out differently than the way they intended for it to come out. And so I don't want to play that game. What we do know is the Bucs were right there to win this game in the playoffs, and they lost it because we were not on the same page defensively, and that was something that hurt us all year long. And that's a problem that I think the Bucs are going to have to correct. Now, is Tom Brady mad about that? I would probably say yes, because in his mind, they should have been more prepared.
I agree. I absolutely agree on that. Sean, we got to run. We got another guest here, Mark Mancini, the madman, coming on here, but use that second call if you want to, my friend. All right?
All right, brother, man. You have a good one, and I'm going to listen to this interview because I think it's going to be a great one, but I'll probably call you back, man, for my second call.
All right, man. Sounds good. Let me give you the Byron Leftwich.
Them Bucs, baby.
Appreciate the call. As always, my co-host from a galaxy far, far away, Mr. Sean, the Sports Don. Let's read these comments, and we'll get out to Mark Mancini, get a little national perspective here on the evolution of sports talk television. It's the Sports Web, brought to you by BetUS.com. Go to BetUS.com. Use the code TSW22. Once again, that's TSW22. Let's go to Roger Shue. Absolutely, super chats are open. Brandon Spike says, how are you? Great. Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend. Bet on what? Football is over. NBA, NHL. You know how it goes.
Shut up!
Roger Shue says, I like the tornado. I did too. I like the tornado siren today. We all know about that. That's called working the other job. Florida's most accurate weather with Sky Tower radar. Wrong guy, dummy.
Shut up!
Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC. Welcome to Cincinnati, Ryan Jensen. We shall see. Miss Anita says, at work enjoying my favorite sports broadcaster. I will go ahead and fire the cannons for that. Hello, beautiful. Thank you. All right. Roger Shue says, can we finally talk Bandits football with Mr. Phillips? No, we can't talk Bandits football. Hit the thumbs up. Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend. Brady would have to be a high comeback under Leftwich. Wait a minute. Brady would have to be high to come back under Leftwich. Right.
Shut up!
Watson, your quarterback for the next 10 years. Troy Polamalu, free Watson. We shall see. Once again, 22 allegations. I get it. It's civil. But once again, the NFL will have something to say about it. Okay? So before we all get excited and all tickled pink that the Bucs are getting Deshaun Watson, let's see this thing play out. Let's see. I get it. It's civil, but it's a lot of allegations. It's kind of disturbing. Okay. Good for you, Roger. You don't like Aaron Rodgers. Yo, Dirks, what's up? That would be Daniel Derricks. Say Brady does retire, Peter. What's your actual thoughts on Winston coming back to Tampa? I don't know if it's going to happen. I know what I saw last year. I know that he knows the offense. If you're Jameis Winston, would you want to come back to the Bucs? Just asking. I mean, there's fans out there saying, well, we like Jameis Winston. How would he look in the offense? If you're Jameis Winston, would you like to come back to the Bucs? Do you think the organization would embrace a Winston? I'm not sure. Troy Polamalu, Ronald Jones. Rojo gone. Most likely he is, but thanks a lot for reminding me. Roger Shue says, great call, Daniel Dick. See you tomorrow. Let's go out to Troy Polamalu. See you at the meetings tomorrow, Daniel. No, you won't, Troy, because you don't work with us. Unless you do, and you're trying to troll me, whomever you are, you never call. You only text in. Peter Boss said if you want to go to Venus Gentlemen's Club Friday nights, that's a lie because that's not happening. I need to go to a club after listening to your nonsense. I mean, you are the king of nonsense on this show, Troy Polamalu. Troy, you don't know Dan, so back off. I'll block you. Nobody's getting blocked on this show. I'll tell the boss to fire you. No, you won't. I mean, honestly, you guys right here, you're playing in the sandbox. I mean, you're a bunch of kids right now. Roger and Troy. Troy, I need to make you a moderator. Blueprint. Yes, it was a blueprint and won a Super Bowl. I'm just saying, I won a Super Bowl. I mean, let's forget about that.
Shut up!
I mean, let's have selective amnesia on this, Troy, as always. Goodness gracious. Sounds like you're in the early signs of dementia because you forget about the Bucs winning a Super Bowl just 2 years ago. Amazing. I'm the boss. Nice try, troll. It's a family affair here with a journal by my Uncle Dwayne. I thank you, Dennis Phillips, so much for being there for my favorite nephew, Peter H. Blake, and his sports web show, always bringing so much to the table of discussion with all the manner of sports. Great job having one of the best in talking football, so much more to your very interesting sportscasting show. And thanks so much, Dennis Phillips, for taking the time from your most busy schedule to come on Peter Blake's show when you could be doing many other things with your wonderful family. Mr. Uncle Dwayne, your check is in the mail. Thank you very much. Talk Bandits football. How about you make me?
Shut up!
I mean, the beautiful thing about this show is, unlike the first job, I can't hang up on them. I can hang up on you. I can tell you to shut the hell up, and you're going to listen, right? Tribal Troll. All right, Roger Shue says, hit the like button, like Super Chat, so Pete gets paid for his hard work. Antonio Brown, free agent, innocent, still booming. I didn't quit. Arians kicked me off the team. Brady quit on the Bucs. The truth hurts. And once again, fake news.
Shut up!
We'll get out to Mark Mancini in a moment. Kyle Nicole says, curious. I think Henry would be better choice. One would also wonder if you have a bad O-line, why you have your quarterback do more rollouts, at least more than the pocket. I honestly think the quarterbacks the Bucs have can get the job done. I'm saying it again. Deshaun is irrelevant until his legal issues get resolved. Kyle, again, if Brady doesn't come back to Tampa, I can see us making a trade with San Francisco where he gets to play, maybe bringing Jimmy G to us. Tampa Bay, honestly, is the best spot for a veteran quarterback. Why? The division at this point is fairly dysfunctional. The NFC compared to the AFC is much easier road to get to a Super Bowl. Good stuff. Kyle is always killing it. I do feel Brady wanted a little more discipline on the players from the coaches. I think Tom wanted everything as close to perfect as he could get it, and that's hard. And maybe he got pushback from other players, which made tension and created issues. I'm sure the AB problems definitely didn't help anything. Good stuff, Kyle
How about
Nicole.
them Bucks, baby?
Bringing it, as always, my friend. Thanks a lot. Let me go ahead and get this guy on. We'll get the national perspective. XM Sirius host here, Mr. Mark Mancini, former XPW announcer, and of course, Mancini Media. Welcome, Madman, to the evolution of sports talk television.
Man, I love this show. It's sweeping the country. I'm blessed to be a part of it. I got a running feud here in Los Angeles. These idiots that haven't had a football team in 3 decades are buying all the Ram gear. They're telling me how good they are. I said, I'm from Pittsburgh, baby. We've got 6. Come chase me with 5 more. Unbelievable. I don't know what it is about this city I live in. The Lakers start adding Minneapolis to the equation. Mm-hmm. The Dodgers add Brooklyn. The Rams are over here adding Cleveland and St. Louis and all this other crap. We just smacked your ass in 79. We were the city of champs, Pittsburgh, Pirates and Steelers. And now I got to hear this garbage from these people, and it's absolutely crazy. Myopic, if you ask me.
Well, it is. It's absolutely crazy. Of course, congratulations to the LA Rams. COVID restrictions going on. So, hey, let's go ahead and have a parade. And according to Sports Illustrated, it looked kind of sparse today. Can you report on that? I mean, it wasn't like the boat parade down here in Tampa. It looked like, I don't know, it was a ghost town.
You know what it was, Peter? I call it corporate showcasing. Maybe the buses weren't, or people were still hanging out trying to get their unemployment checks. Who knows what the hell was going on out here? There was only 4 buses. And then I hear Sean McVay tell everybody he's going to run it back. This guy looks like a deer in headlights when you have him in a vice The game should have been to the Bengals. I didn't really have a dog in the fight, but the phantom call by the referee at the end secured the Rams. A big market like this, and you've got one title in 70 years to show for it. You should be embarrassed.
Well, and I'll tell you right now, it is a big market. And of course, a lot of people will say, well, the refs were paid off because the NFL wanted LA to win the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, you cannot deny that last drive there. 15 plays, 79 yards by Matt Stafford. He really earned his money. And it's the reason why the Rams gave up so many draft picks. But of course, at critical times, the refs are calling some bogus penalties. Although Cincinnati got away with one with that touchdown to start the second half. What are your thoughts on that last drive? And should that penalty been called on that linebacker, or should the refs let them play?
Well, yeah, that should have been. It would have set up a fourth down. Then we would have found out what, Sean McVay's going to do. He would have had to go for a touchdown there. But, it just smelled like a Rams victory. They, Kroenke put a lot of money into this team, bringing it to Los Angeles. But, what's funny is everybody's a Ram fan. Everybody's jumping around. And let me tell you, I've never been a big Matthew Stafford guy. I'll be honest with you. I look at this guy. If I had a choice between Phillip Rivers and Matthew Stafford, I'm taking Phillip Rivers any day of the week.
Wow.
I don't think you have to base it, who has to win a ring here. But, Stafford has to show me he can win another ring here. Boy, a lot of years in Detroit, man. He had some targets, and he couldn't get the job done, even getting the team to the playoffs.
Well, you couldn't get him to the playoffs. You had Calvin Johnson, but, after that, you didn't really build a team around him. And, there's some talk about Aaron Donald and possibly Sean McVay stepping aside here. But they confirmed today, most likely they're going to try to run it back. So what do you think the chances are for them to repeat? I mean, it's very difficult to do it. Are the Rams built that way? Can they do it again next year?
I don't know. When you look at their wins in the playoffs, Arizona just kind of fell in there. They forgot how to play football when they started undefeated, and they kind of, they lost to Detroit, and they fell into the playoffs. The Rams took care of them. If Tampa could get to overtime, they would have beat the Rams. The 49ers had a chance to intercept that ball. They couldn't do it. The Bengals had a chance in the Super Bowl. They couldn't do it. If that ball tips a little to the 49ers or the Bengals, we wouldn't even be talking about the Rams now. I don't think they can run it back. I think the league is too hard. It's going to be interesting if Brady does go to San Francisco. There's been rumors. Who knows? I'm sure you've heard them.
Sure.
But if Brady goes there and tries to win it there, who knows what some of these other teams do? Does Ron Rivera get, in Washington, Baker Mayfield? So it's going to be interesting.
Well, that's definitely interesting. What is the national perspective out there about Tom Brady? Do they think he's officially retired, or do they think he's coming back? And what are the rumors out there like with 49ers? Do they feel like the Bucs are going to make that trade that Brady wants the 49ers? Give us the
Well, I think at 44, this guy was an MVP caliber quarterback. I think he still has it in. I don't know if it was a forced deal to retire there. I don't, but the 49ers would jump on this. I think he would have an ideal finish in San Francisco, his hometown there. You got Samuel there. You got some targets. You got Kittles. Who knows? I mean, if he goes there, wow, that could change the landscape, and San Francisco could be the front runner. Right now, the talk is Kansas City getting to the Super Bowl, and to face the Rams in Phoenix next year should be something else. I will tell you this. I had my brother went to the game with a friend of his. Friend picked up the tab, $10,250 for a ticket. I went in 1982, saw the Redskins and Dolphins. Fulton Walker, 97-yard kickoff return, $20.
Oh my gosh. And do you think the NFL should explore the possibility of lowering down those tickets? Everybody says the Super Bowl is too corporate. It's not about the fans. Should the NFL look at that? Because you just talked about it. 10,000. Who can afford that if you're just a blue collar Joe trying to watch your favorite team? $10,000.
Let me tell you something, Peter. Dr. Dre there, Snoop Dogg, everything, halftime. They were schmoozing with all the big wigs, showcasing everything. Who was at these floats today? It was the average fan, the guy that supports the team. I didn't see Snoop Dogg on a bus there or Dr. Dre. Come on, man. If you're going to support the team at halftime and play a halftime show, get the hell on the bus, baby.
Did you like the halftime show? Because I posted this on my Facebook page and there was a lot of controversy. You know, the much older people, you know, not saying anything bad about you. It's the music I grew up on, but there's much older people who didn't like it. Where do you stand on it?
Man, oh man, you know, I looked at that, you know, I wish there was, you know, maybe Adele or somebody like that in it, man. I'm not really into this kind of music, but, you know, I got to go with it, you know, and I like the cars there and everything, but I think the best Super Bowl was Prince Purple Rain in Minnesota with that rain behind him. I think that was the best so far.
All right, we got to go out and read these comments. Mark's Mancini, a Mancini Media, XM Sirius Radio here on the Evolution. Let's go. Yeah, baby. Steelers country. I'll go ahead and give you an Austin Powers.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan legend. Nothing will ever beat the boat parade. Bucks are legends for that. Do you agree? Did you see that boat parade last year?
Oh, yeah, that was great, baby. Throwing that thing around, man. That's what they should have done in Los Angeles, Marina del Rey, Venice, Santa Monica. Put the boats out there, baby. Forget the sharks.
Yeah, get the boats out there. All right, Roger Shue says, Troy, that's the best thing you ever said on this show. And I actually agree. I'm going to fire the cannon. All right, let's go on to Roger again. Peter, talk Bandits football, damn it. No, I'm not. These guys right here. Troy
USFL coming in April, man. We got the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Yeah, well, they're all playing in Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not going to cover it, but come on. Acknowledge your master troll. No.
God, I remember, I think Mike Rozier played for us.
Oh, wow, that was way back. There
Yeah.
you go, Mark. All right, Roger Shue says, I'm God on this channel. Don't forget it. Nobody's God on this channel besides me.
Shut up!
Roger Shue says, cash in the Rolex and you can go to the Super Bowl. How about this?
Shut up!
How about this? Troy Polamalu, King Troy, the old people wanted to see Frank Sinatra and Barry Manilow. The problem is, Troy, Frank Sinatra is dead.
Yeah, these guys, man, they're front runners, baby, man. Stick with your team through thick and thin, baby. Stop bringing 3 decades of a team that hasn't been in a city and start buying all the gear up.
Well,
what
look,
the hell is that?
I think the NFL did a good job of putting on a good halftime show that was entertaining. I thought it was a great halftime show. Was it as good as Prince? You know, Prince is great. Prince is just a separate entity at that point, but probably one of the best halftime shows of all time. But I definitely liked the halftime show last Sunday. With that being said, Joe Burrow, good game. Did no protection at all, 7 sacks. I mean, this was the big time matchup you had to look at that you said, you know what? This may be the end of the Bengals run, right?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When you look at the Bengals, this is a team that, you know, I know it's hard to get back to the Super Bowl when you lose it. Case in point, Donovan McNabb, Matt Ryan, you know, Jimmy Garoppolo. But let me tell you something about this Joe Burrow kid.
Dan Marino. Just saying.
Yeah, this kid is driven, man. This kid's got, you know, he's got some targets, you know, with Higgins and Chase and everything, you know, and he knew how to win, you know, at LSU. And let me tell you, I wouldn't bet against this guy. I think he gets back there before Stafford comes back there, believe it or not.
Wow. Okay. So you're expecting the Bengals to step up for this young kid, get him an offensive line, because what you come to find out, he sprained his MCL, still played through that. And look, if he gets a couple extra seconds there, Mark, he wins the game with Jamar Chase. You watch the replay. Once again, Jalen Ramsey, who I feel like is one of the most overrated players in the NFL right now, falls down. If you get that extra time, Chase gets the ball, we may be talking about the Cincinnati Bengals as Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, you know, and that's the case. But, you know, when you looked at it, you know, and as much as we wanted to see the Kenny Anderson ghost and the Boomer Esiason ghost go away, something was telling me these Rams at the end seem to come out of nowhere to pull up these phantom calls and end up winning the game. Cooper Kupp's a great, wide receiver there. Odell Beckham, here's a guy that I thought he was on the scrap. He burned the bridges and blew them up in New York and Cleveland. And then he comes to LA and, he was on his best behavior. Go figure.
Yeah, go figure. And he was a big part of that offense. And you could see it, late on in the second quarter when he got hurt. That offense looked like they were very confused, discombobulated, if you will. Didn't seem like the same offense. They were very fortunate to win. Did the NFL pick the right guy for Cooper Kupp? 8 catches, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns as a Super Bowl MVP.
Triple crown, baby. I mean, yeah, this kid out of Eastern Washington, something. I like him. I mean, he really had a great year. We'll see if he can continue it. But, when you look at what he did throughout the year, almost up there with Jerry Rice type of playing.
Yes.
So I like what it is. The Rams are going to need a running game, man. They don't have an Eric Dickerson type, Cam Akers and Sony Michel, man. That's not going to get it done. You're going to need to get a running back in there, and who knows? Maybe they'll go out and try to get one.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think it's also the offensive line. They got to improve that offensive line, but it's going to be tough with no picks. We're on with Mark Mancini of Mancini Media, of course, former XPW announcer here on the evolution of sports talk television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. I tell you what, let's switch gears, get into wrestling, because a lot of things have been happening, especially these last couple of weeks here.
Yeah.
First and foremost, what were your thoughts on Shane McMahon being canned? And the reason why Vince and the WWE canned him is because he booked himself in the Royal Rumble as one of the last 4. Now, of course, you can't do that, but that's his son, and he canned him. Were you surprised by that?
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and somebody asked me this a long time ago, working for the WWE, if you ever worked for the WWE, what would you think of it? And my basic reaction to working for Vince McMahon is like trekking through an 8-hour minefield. You don't know when it's going to go off. And the problem here is you get rid of your son. I don't know if he's dumping salaries, dumping guys here, wrestlers. We got Cody Rhodes coming back without his wife, Brandy. Is he trying to make a move here to move this team where Fox picks it up? Who knows? But man, oh man, there's so many moves here that just don't make sense. And I'll tell you another thing that doesn't make sense is I can't tell from one week to another if Kevin Owens is a face, a heel, Rollins is a face or a heel. I mean, it just gets crazier. I'm waiting for Boogs to turn on Nakamura. I mean, this is getting absolutely insane. But I will tell you this. Miz's wife is going to be the hottest looking thing in WWE, baby.
Oh, I've been telling you, she definitely, Miz has done very well for himself, and I'll just leave it at that. With that being said, you're exactly right. Do you feel like we talked about this before, Mark? Is that the biggest problem with WWE? The character development, you don't know what's a baby face, what's a heel at this point. And you mentioned Kevin Owens, and this was interesting. It seems like they could be trying to put together a match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens in Texas, of course, because WrestleMania. I mean, does that work for you? Stone Cold hasn't wrestled in like 20 years, and I get it, he's a legend, but he's got to be a little rusty. What is WWE doing here?
I think you're on to something there, and that's kind of like what I was thinking. Knocking Texas, Kevin Owens taking shots at the people of Texas. This could be set up for that. I will tell you this. Next year in Los Angeles, I think it's going to be set up, and I'll run with this. It's going to be the tribal chief, the needle mover, going against his cousin there, The Rock. That'll be the big one out here in LA. But I think the big one here in a couple months in Texas is going to be Owens and Stone Cold.
And you like that match? I mean,
like it. I do.
Can they put over a Kevin Owens? Because look, at the end of the day, you most likely want Stone Cold to win that match because he's in Texas, although you have no idea how WWE is going to book that. But how, in your opinion, do you put over Kevin Owens where you get him over, whether he's a baby face or a heel? Like, can you put him over in an Austin match where Austin hasn't wrestled in 20 years? Can you make him
I think what Kevin Owens is, one thing I like about Kevin Owens is kind of the same thing I liked about Seth Rollins, Stone Cold, and The Rock. Those four have great mic skills. And whether they're a heel or a face, that's huge. So I think whether he gets put over or not, I think Owens is great the way he is. the real thing down the line here is going to be what they're doing with Lashley. They're going to give him one hell of a push as a baby face, but there's another one that, what do you do with the Brock Lesnar? What do you start doing with these guys? And the Elimination Chamber this Saturday, you got 4 good guys in there, and you got
Saudi Arabia, by the way. I mean, how do you feel about Saudi Arabia? I mean, knowing what
I'm not a big fan of that.
Okay.
But I mean, if you're going to balance Elimination Chamber out, you got 5 guys in this thing and 1 heel in Austin Theory. It just doesn't make a lot of sense if you're trying to create faces, don't you think?
I agree. And that's the thing. The reason why they fired Shane McMahon in the first place. What a waste, because look, for me, if you're going to book somebody, you don't book Shane McMahon. You book one of those young guys to get over. And instead you're not. You're getting a guy. I get it. Shane McMahon's a great worker, but he's past his time at this point. And also, not only he's the son of the owner of Mark Mancini, former XPW announcer here on the Evolution. Going back to Cody and what's being said right now, there's new details coming out. Cody could begin working in WWE as soon as this weekend. Of course, he announced that he's leaving AEW. And the reason why, and this is according to Sports Illustrated, key factor in the decision was losing all responsibilities related to booking. Rhodes was originally a part of this process, but Khan, being Tony Khan, as AEW's head of creative, has taken full control. On top of that, it was said that, Cody cares so much about the business, of course. He also goes on to say, while Rhodes was never intended to overstay his welcome in the world title picture, one key factor that led to his exit was losing all responsibilities involving booking. That is a role where Tony Khan, who is the head of creative, has taken full reign. Originally, Rhodes was a part of that process. As great as Dusty Rhodes was as a performer, his contributions as a booker are a big-time part of his legacy. For Rhodes, AEW represented another chance to pay homage to his father as a booker while also further cementing his own legacy. Losing that opportunity in AEW hurt Rhodes more than any loss he suffered in the ring. In your opinion, how big of a loss is this for AEW going forward? And can WWE capitalize on this opportunity with getting a Cody Rhodes?
Well, first of all, what WWE did in the beginning of this whole thing is they dropped the ball. They made him like a jobber. If you remember, he'd come out with his mustache and they were selling T-shirts with his Cody Rhodes with the mustache thing. He was a mid-level guy. He couldn't break the barrier there. So he goes over to AEW, goes to these independents, starts ripping it. Now, all of a sudden, now Vince McMahon looks at this opportunity to cash in. And believe me when I say this, he's coming back to WWE, and he's going to be on an upper echelon with the Roman Reigns, the Bobby Lashleys, the Seth Rollins. He's not going to be a middle of the pack, what you see going forward, there.
Mark, stop right there, though. Here's the thing. If I'm Cody Rhodes and I'm Brandy, and I get it, Brandy's not coming back now, and that's kind of surprising to me because I think there's an opportunity. And you mentioned it. Maybe Miz and his wife versus a Cody and a Brandy. I think that would sell a lot of money, in my opinion, just as much as maybe an Edge and, of course, Beth Phoenix. What a great opportunity. But if I'm Cody and I was a mid-card when I was there, why should I believe that I'm automatically, because I'm coming from AEW, going to be in the title picture? I mean, maybe it'll last for a month or two, but we know how bipolar Vince is in that organization. I mean, if I'm Cody, this is a big time risk here, right?
Well, here's the thing. You sometimes you got to change the character. Look at Alexa Bliss.
Right.
You change the character, and all of a sudden it takes on a life all its own. Bray Wyatt was another one. I will guarantee you this. Bray Wyatt gets released somewhere or whatever, Vince McMahon's going to have to open up his wallet and really cash in on Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was another great wrestler. And the problem was the WWE doesn't know how to cash in these guys. They think they're the mid-level guys. They could have paired him. We talked about this weeks back with The Undertaker and Kane and all that. They could have ran this character really high. But, they didn't. And sometimes you got to change the character. With Cody Rhodes coming back into WWE, who knows? It'll be something like maybe Alexa Bliss. You change that character, fans buy into it.
Was that his downfall in AEW because there were so many fans booing him, and it almost seemed like, I mean, going all the way back to The Rock, right? I mean, he was booked as Rocky Maivia as a face, and fans got tired of it, and then he turned into The Rock. Was Cody's downfall in AEW that they didn't book him, or he was booking himself as a face instead of a heel at that point?
Well, that is, sometimes you can't do everything. It's like, even moving shows or stuff. You got to get a headhunter in there that knows exactly what he's doing, that can showcase your talents and get you these opportunities. The problem, when you look at the WWE, is they haven't done that. They market 3-4 guys, and that's all they do. All these other guys are the middle of the pack guys. Look at some of these wrestlers. You look at Kofi Kingston and Big E. They're kind of leveled right there. The Viking Raiders. You look at some of these tag teams, and they just can't seem to move up. Even some of these mid-level guys. I mean, Sami Zayn is just off the wall, but some of these guys like Austin Theory, how far can you take it?
Right. You're exactly right. And I think Big E is an opportunity. You made him world champion. And then at the end of the day, it's kind of like Roger Shue says, in 3 to 6 months, he's in catering. So I kind of feel like,
and now you got, the women, you got Charlotte Flair there, Becky Lynch, you bring back Ronda Rousey. I mean, you really think Naomi or Bianca Belair is going to take the belts off these guys? They brought these people in to hold belts. They're not going to take the belts off of them.
How do you feel about that? And we're all with Mark Mancini. Great conversation going on here on the Evolution, the madman himself, talking wrestling here. How do you feel about bringing back part-timers, namely a Brock Lesnar? Look, I get it. He's a part-timer. I think he's good for the business. I think he's a better heel than he's a face, but it works, of course, with, Paul Heyman turning on him at Royal Rumble, which to me wasn't really a shocker, going with, the tribal chief in a Roman Reigns because he's hot right now. But do you like Brock Lesnar winning the Royal Rumble, or do you think that takes away from the opportunities of some of those young wrestlers that you talked about? Do you like a Ronda Rousey who hasn't been seen in the last couple of years, comes out with a surprise and wins the Royal Rumble? Doesn't it kind of take away from the younger people there?
Well, it does, and you saw firsthand what it was years back in Chicago when CM Punk made that reference to these part-timers coming in. These are the guys that beat the pavement. These are the guys that go city to city, gypsy lifestyle, traveling at night. And then they have the part-timer fly in 10 o'clock in the morning, do a walkthrough, and then wrestle at night, and then see you in a couple months at a big pay-per-view. I don't think it's fair. I think and if you looked at that on an everyday 8 to 5 job, I think accountability is big across the board. I think treating people like people is big across the board. And once you start creating gray areas for certain people and black and white for others, it's going to create animosity. And I think it's created animosity, with some of these wrestlers. Naomi's a hell of a wrestler. Bianca Belair, they're there all the time. To bring in these Rouseys and, some of these other people to come in here and sell a little more tickets, I don't think it's fair. And some of these wrestlers now are talking up.
Have they destroyed NXT officially? I mean, everything that Triple H has built the last 5 years, has that all been destroyed by Vince and Bruce?
I think it has to a certain extent, but you know what? Triple H is a smart man. Triple H will come out of this with glowing colors. Vince is a guy that, I never had the opportunity to meet him, but, it just seems like, money comes and goes in life. Building relationships are priceless. And if you're trying to get the almighty dollar and you're trying to screw the last guy in the stable, I mean, that just doesn't work right in my book. You come into the world with nothing, you leave the world with nothing. How you treat people, respect, your word and everything, that goes a long way these days.
We look back in the history of wrestlers kind of booking themselves. I always remember Kevin Nash, right? He booked himself. Yeah. He booked himself over Goldberg to stop the streak, and then the finger poke of doom. And that was basically the end of WCW, in my opinion. It's just not a good thing, right? I mean, is AEW right with not allowing Cody to book anymore?
No, I mean, you got to have input. The wrestlers should have input. You sit them down once a week. Everybody, barnstorm some ideas. I think what ends up happening is if you push your persona and opinion down people's throat without giving them a chance to respond, or without saying, yeah, what do you think of this? Then people start to turn on that. It's like in anything, you got to have communication. If you don't have communication, you don't give people opinions, give people great, environments to work and talk to people about bringing some of these big time wrestlers back, that people feel like, well, my opinion's falling on deaf ears. I'm just here to collect the paycheck.
Do you think some of that input can become toxic, if you will? Because we talked about Cody and how we felt like Cody should be a heel and how he wanted to book himself as a face. Do you think a wrestler that books himself, that input could become not only biased, but also toxic?
Well, I do. But, the way to clear that up is just sitting down, having conversations with the creative management team, the wrestler, everybody gets an input on it. Try to come up with something great. I don't like to put something off in the morning. If I could sit with 4 or 5 people, work it out throughout the night. Now I got a clear head. I can sleep good at night.
Makes sense. Raul Mark Mancini, who never sleeps, the madman himself of Mancini Media, former XPW announcer. Did you ever encounter that in XPW where you saw a struggle with booking or guys who felt like they weren't being booked correctly? And can you share some of those stories with us here on the Sports?
Well, I would see it with, the Cronuses, the Damian Steeles. We booked those guys. You'd have Messiah, Supreme, God rest his soul. And, they book up 4 or 5 of these guys. And, I remember the Phenomenal Phils we had in our things, or, Homeless Jimmy. And, these kind of guys would be in the middle of the pack and stuff. And, that was the downfall. You got to market everybody, push it. I know they were selling T-shirts and everything. Hell, I was out there pushing it, mixing it up with the fans from city to city, get in their face and everything, be the heel ring announcer.
Sure.
I had a name. I figured, you know what? I'm going to run with it.
Do you remember the incident? And we talked about Rob and his, his relationship or non-relationship with Paul Heyman. Do you remember the incident where ECW is invading, if you will, or I guess it was XPW at the time? They're both going back and forth. I mean, you have ECW wrestlers showing up and XPW is trying to fight and they're going at it. And of course they get overwhelmed. Do you remember that incident?
Yeah, I was in the balcony and I know some of those guys were in the front row and everything. And a lot of us guys were spread out through the arena, and then it spilled out into the streets. And you had, the Mama Luke and all that. And it was crazy, man. I remember it. And, a couple of the guys were saying, where's Guido over there? And I was over there mixing it up with the fans and talking to the fans and trying to sign autographs. And they go, what the hell, man? We're over here brawling. You're talking about signing autographs. I was having a grand old time there.
Good stuff there. And you're knowing Rob Black. Do you think that he favored those wrestlers that came over from ECW over the wrestlers that were there? And was there any animosity with those XPW wrestlers?
Well, he'd bring quite a few over, and I don't, sometimes I would think so, and then other times, it'd be quite different. But, he's starting it back up again. He had a show in New York.
Wow.
Recently, and from what I'm hearing is he's trying to bring XPW back out here in April in Pomona.
Wow. Pomona, California, basically the birthplace over there. And the reason why they call it XPW, if you don't know, and this was, just profiled on Dark Side of the Ring on Vice, he had some type of agreement with Paul E. at the time, Paul Heyman, and they were going to combine ECW and his promotion, and they didn't do it. And of course, it led to a bitter feud between both of those guys. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Some of the people who didn't watch that broadcast on Vice.
Well, not only that, I think what happened is, and Paul Heyman then ended up selling ECW to WWE, and you see where Paul Heyman is today. I mean, hell, they're marketing him. He's part of their creative team, and somewhere along the lines in my closet here, I got a Walrus T-shirt that they were trying to promote on Paul Heyman in WWE. It never went off, but they were going to call him the Walrus, and that was going to set up the feud with Bray Wyatt, I think, or Roman Reigns at the time. But then he lined with Roman Reigns. So Yeah.
Well,
I think,
didn't The Rock call him Twinkie? You know, I'm not going to say the word, but he called him that, and that was during the time where CM Punk was the champion, and that's another case where The Rock comes back, he defeats CM Punk, and that really upset CM Punk for a part-timer, and I get it. The Rock is over. He's going to sell, tickets and ratings, but he's not going to be there full-time like CM Punk. Did you agree with that decision at the time?
yeah, that was an interesting decision, on that particular thing. When you looked at it, but here's the thing that I look at the wrestling with the AEW, ECW, XPW. It's kind of like in football, Peter. You got the NFL, and then you got all these organizations that are going to try to chase down the NFL, the USFL, this spring football league, and all that. It doesn't work unless one or two things. Either you got some big money behind you, whether it's foreign or American, and number two, you got to start prying some big name wrestlers. When the USFL first started, you had Donald Trump own the New Jersey Generals. He brought in a Doug Flutie. He brought in a Herschel Walker. They would have competed with the NFL, I think, to a certain extent, if they didn't try to go fall with them. That was the big mistake. But that's the same thing with wrestling. When you look at the wrestling today, you've got, AEW's doing it right. But some of these other organizations, if they banded together, created something, had some big money behind them, they might make a dent in WWE.
Could you ever see a case, and we saw this with AEW, joining, going back and forth with Impact Wrestling and New Japan and Ring of Honor when it was around. Could you ever see a case where you have a legitimate invasion where somehow, some way, Tony Khan comes together with the Vince McMahon, they put it all together for a super show where it's AEW versus WWE and all these wrestling organizations for the fans? Could you ever see Vince doing that with AEW?
Well, I'll tell you this. I could see that, but what would happen first? Would that happen first? Or would the WWE sell the Fox first? That would be the real question here, because I think if inquiring minds want to know, that would be one hell of a payoff having those two come together. But would Vince McMahon, getting up there in age right now, figure, you know what? Let me just take a boatload of money, sell the WWE, let Fox deal with Khan.
Now, you've heard rumors about Nick Khan taking over. Of course, he's doing all the financial stuff, but he's also friends with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Do you feel like if The Rock owned WWE, they would be in a better place, or do you think the eventual successor should be Triple H?
Everybody likes Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Nobody speaks bad about this guy across the board. He's an icon. He's a caring individual. I never had a chance to really interview him, but I will tell you this: if Khan joins forces with The Rock, let me tell you something. It would be amazing, because I think whatever The Rock touches moving forward will turn to gold.
Well, it seems like with every movie right now, being a Hollywood superstar, and what he did for the Super Bowl was amazing. One final question, and we'll get you out of here, Madman. Keith Lee and AEW, what can they do with this kid? I mean, it seems like WWE really dropped the ball. He was way over in NXT, much like an Adam Cole. What do you expect out of a Mr. Lee in AEW?
Wow, I hope they do something with him. I was waiting for them to do something in WWE. They didn't know whether they, he was a face, then he was a Bearcat, then he was this name, then he was just Keith Lee. And I mean, it's such a wasted talent in WWE. Man, oh man, here's a guy that, is a good wrestler if you let him wrestle. Hopefully they can get it uncorked over there.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Mark Mancini of XM.
I love you, brother. I love this show every Wednesday.
Absolutely, Madman. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Hey, man, you're going to join me on XM Sirius, baby. We're waiting for you to get over there. But tomorrow in Philadelphia, we got Jeff Biggs, Sports Map Radio out of Houston. National Sports Talk guy will be on, along with Jake Russell from the Washington Post. And man, this guy's good, talking about the Washington Redskins name change, Washington football team, Washington Commanders, talking about all that. Should be interesting.
Absolutely. It will be interesting. And Hey, I'm working on that to join you there on XM Series Radio.
Oh, I'm hoping, baby. You know, I always said, man, got to have my brother by my side, 60 feet, 6 inches, like Steve Carlton and Tim McCarver, Peter Blake and Mark Mancini, baby.
I love it. Mark Mancini, the Madman, XPW, former XPW announcer. Thanks a lot for joining me here.
See you next week.
See you next week. There you go, brother. Thanks a lot right there. Good stuff from him. I told you. I'll just say it one more time. Stagnation is the ruination of the sports web. Trust me. There's things going on in the background that you don't know anything about right now, but you never know. That's all. I'll leave it at that. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go ahead and read some of these comments. Troy Polamayu says, my bad. Yeah, you're bad, all right. Cracking me up. Roger Shue says, halftime show was the worst in history. That's your opinion. I don't like it. Hardy Boys versus the Dooley Boys. That would be the Dudleys. Roger correcting him. Saudi is blood money. Roger again, it's a work. Roger again, he's going to be catering in 3 to 6 months. We read that comment. D Generation X, baby. Absolutely. I think are you ready? There you go. Roger Shue says Vince doesn't give you know what, all jobbers. Just like you, Roger. Vince will never do that. Roger again. Triple H will never have control of the company. Christopher Cole says, good stuff, guys. Thank you very much. And Roger Shue says, I know you told me behind the scenes. Let's go out to a guy that we've had on this show before by the name of Leo Haggerty. Let's see if we can get him on here. I tell you what, we'll hold off on that. We'll try to get that press conference another time. Of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning win against the New Jersey Devils last night, 6-3 after being down 3-1. Pretty funny press conference. When Leo comes back, we'll get that press conference for you so you can listen to it. I'm going to end it here, man. I mean, good stuff from Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, Mark Mancini, the Madman, XM Sirius Radio, and of course, Mancini Media, talking professional wrestling, giving you the national perspective. And like I said, you just never know. Just keep on tuning in to the evolution of Sports Talk Television live here on I Love St. Pete. Go like and follow that. Go be a part of the hub. And also like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. Do 3 things for me here on this Wednesday night. We'll be back on Monday night. Once again, tune in to 1252 Sports, Chicago Sports. Yours truly, along with Harry the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire, on the over-under. 3 things. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time, and it's your time. Have a great night.
Hey everyone, I'm Reagan Weiss along with
Joey Deeb, co-founders
of The Hub.
I'd just like to start off by prefacing this by saying it's not just us. It's all of our core members of this group that made this. We have a lot of people that have worked hard, put their blood, sweat, and tears into this. Can't mention all of them because there's so many, but we love you all.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for every single one of you, and you know who you are, to be involved with this. And a lot of people are asking, why? Why The Hub? Let me tell you why the Hub. The Hub is a place that not just business owners are going to collaborate. It's where our community members are going to collaborate, where ideas are bounced off of one another. We just want to help people. We want to be there. We want to unify not just our businesses, but we want to unify our community. We don't want to hear about the negativity. We don't want to hear. There are so many other places out there that you could hear about the negativity in our community, and this will not be the place.
Our group can be a basis for so many different resources for so many different trades and industries. It's not just isolated to one specific trade or construction or cleaning or any of that. Everybody can come to the Hub to get actual references from real people using these business and utilizing them to see what kind of experiences they've had.
Now, the key word is collaboration, right? And you see that a lot lately, like collaboration. Well, it really is about collaboration. If I didn't know to collaborate with my friends behind the camera, Jordan Long, if I didn't know how to collaborate with all these other people, all these individuals involved, you wouldn't know about us because of those people. Strength are in numbers. So just like Joey said, it's every industry. We want to hear from how your experiences were with your restaurants. We want to hear your cleaning people, your contractors, your roofing companies. I mean, every industry out there, your masseuses, your salon. We want to hear real experiences from real people. And one more thing, very, very important, we're not going to allow networking. When we say networking, I just want to be very specific on this. And people say, oh, well, you're kind of pushing people away. No, we're not, because there are specific network groups that post and tag people without ever utilizing their business. And we don't want that. We want real experiences.
You're not forced to recommend somebody simply because you're in the same group.
Right.
And that's what we want. And it's not just about business either.
Right.
It's about charity and giving. We want a local hub for events to help people.
We appreciate you. We love you. We thank you. Look for Hub ads on the radio. Look for the Hub bus on the Pasco County Public Transportation System. Look in Facebook and please share this, and let's grow this positive thinking, forward momentum community. We love you, Tampa Bay.
Join the Hub and grow with us.
See you soon.
Hey, Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
BetUS.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football. But, of course, the NHL, NBA, go to BetUS.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the sports web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US, and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilt on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com. Sign up at BetUS.com and get the best